doctor slipped a folded note into her palm. "Don't go home. Run." Emma Clark, devoted wife, steadied her breath, but said nothing. By nightfall, she would uncover the secret her husband thought she'd never survive to see. I'm curious, where in the world are you joining us from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed for all the latest updates. Some wounds heal, others open secrets. The first thing Emma saw was the ceiling. Sterile white tiles, humming with flickering fluorescent light. The second was her own hand, limp against crisp sheets, an IV line threaded through her skin like a leash. She blinked, throat dry. Her voice scraped as she whispered, "Where?" "You're in the hospital," a nurse said gently. "You collapsed at work. Do you remember anything?" Emma tried to piece it together. The sharp pain behind her eyes, the spinning break room, someone shouting her name. Nothing after that. She nodded weakly. "Probably just stress," the nurse added. "They're running tests. Nothing serious so far." But Emma could see it. The sideways glances, the way the nurse paused when glancing at her chart, her eyes lingering a second too long on a line just out of Emma's sight. She wanted to sit up, but the IV tugged. Her muscles ached like she'd been fighting something invisible, something big. Later, another doctor came in, not her regular one, a new face. "Dr. Patel," he said with a calm voice and kind eyes. "I'm just filling in on rotation." He checked her vitals, asked standard questions, but his gaze kept flicking toward the closed door. His hands trembled slightly when adjusting her blood pressure cuff. "Do you live with anyone, Emma?" "My husband," she replied. "Daniel." That name changed something in his face. Barely, but it was there, like someone had turned the temperature down just 1 degree. She caught it. "You know him?" Patel didn't answer. He just said, "Try to rest. You'll probably be discharged by morning." She watched him move to the foot of her bed, write something in her chart, then step forward, casually, like he was checking her IV line. His fingers brushed her wrist, warm, steady, but when he let go, there was something folded beneath her palm. A piece of paper, torn, discreet, pressed into her hand like a secret. He didn't say a word. He only nodded once and left. Emma's pulse thundered in her ears. Carefully, she slid the note beneath the blanket, keeping her movements minimal in case anyone watched. When the nurse returned with pills, Emma smiled, calm, collected, normal. Then, when the door clicked shut again, she opened the paper in her lap beneath the blanket. "Don't go home. Run." That was all it said. 4 words, scrawled in quick, desperate ink. Her blood chilled. Her breath caught. Her mind raced. Was it a mistake? A joke? A warning? She was still staring at the note when the door flew open again. Too loud. Too fast. Daniel stood in the doorway, smiling too wide, too bright. "Baby," he said cheerfully, stepping inside with a bouquet of flowers. "I came as soon as I heard. You scared the hell out of me." His voice was warm. His eyes weren't. Freedom from the hospital felt like a trap waiting outside. The next morning, Emma sat up in bed, dressed and quiet, while Daniel fussed around the room with theatrical energy. He smoothed her blanket, fluffed a pillow, straightened the strap on her overnight bag. "All set, babe," he chirped, too bright. "Doctor said you're good to go." Emma forced a nod, watching his hands, always moving, always in control. Daniel wasn't asking if she wanted to leave. He was deciding. Across the room, a nurse approached when she saw Daniel, then turned on her heel and walked the other way. Emma's eyes flicked to the hallway. Where was Dr. Patel? She fumbled with her paperwork, flipping through the discharge forms. I think I lost the last page, she murmured, stalling. Daniel's smile faltered for a second. Lost it. Baby, come on. It's just a form. We'll handle it at home. But she was already rising slowly from the bed. I want to ask the nurse. He sighed, gripping her elbow. Not hard, but just enough to say you don't need to do that. As he led her down the hallway, Emma scanned the corridors, heart hammering, and then, there, at the far end, just outside the nurse's station, Dr. Patel stood with his back to them. He turned slowly, locking eyes with her. His face was pale, drawn. His lips moved. Trust no one. He mouthed it like a prayer, then looked away fast, slipping into a room. Daniel's hand tightened. We should move quicker. I don't want you overdoing it. She said nothing, slipped her hand into her coat pocket, but the note was too risky to keep there. She needed it safe. As they reached the elevator, Emma paused and reached down to adjust her shoe. With quick fingers, she slid the note into the inner sole of her sneaker, under her sock. It crinkled softly, disappearing beneath her heel. By the time the elevator doors closed, Daniel was back to smiling. You know, I think we'll do a little detox at home. Just the two of us. Keep distractions away. Get you rested. Emma nodded, stomach churning. Outside, the wind had picked up. The hospital parking lot felt like a stage. Everyone acting, no one saying what they meant. Daniel opened the car door for her. She slid in, careful to keep her weight off the hidden note. He rounded the car, whistling. Just before he turned the key, his voice dropped lower, casual, measured. You know, I told them not to bother calling anyone else. Families overreact. You only need me. Emma didn't reply. Just stared straight ahead. As the car pulled away from the curb, she dared one glance back. Dr. Patel stood at the window of the hospital lobby, unmoving. Their eyes met again through the glass. He lifted a single hand, one final message. Palm out. Stop. Home no longer felt like mine. The house smelled like lavender and lemons. Emma had always loved that scent. Bright, comforting, hers, but as she crossed the threshold behind Daniel, it made her stomach twist. Something felt off. The lights were all on. The thermostat was higher than usual, and her favorite pair of slippers, the gray ones with worn soles, were gone from the mat near the door. Daniel carried her overnight bag straight past the living room, humming tunelessly. Let's get you upstairs. I set up the guest room for you. Figured you'd want space to rest. The guest room? Emma blinked. Why not our? You need full rest, no distractions. He smiled too quickly. Doctor's orders. But Emma hadn't been told that. Not once. She followed slowly, noting things that hadn't been there before. New locks on the front door, furniture rearranged, and where their wedding photos once lined the hall, the frames now held abstract art. She hadn't approved that. Inside the guest room, fresh sheets covered the bed. Sterile white. A tray with a single glass of water sat on the nightstand. No flowers, no books, no clutter, no her. It felt like a hotel room. Daniel, she said quietly. Where's my phone? He paused in the doorway. It was acting up. I had it wiped. Fresh start, right? Her stomach flipped. My contacts. My photos. He shrugged. I backed up what mattered. She didn't ask for proof. She already knew the answer. When he left the room, she checked the drawers. Empty. Her clothes were folded neatly in the closet, but her journals, her photo albums, the little brass jewelry box her mother gave her, all missings. Gee, she sat down, cold creeping into her chest. She slipped off her shoe, fingers brushing the folded note hidden beneath the sole. Still there, still real, the only thing that was. That afternoon, she peeked through the curtains and saw Mrs. Klein, her elderly neighbor, watering plants across the street. Emma raised a hand in soft wave, reflexive, hopeful. Mrs. Klein glanced up and looked away. No wave, no smile, just turned, hose still running, and disappeared around the back of her house. Emma's hand dropped. What the hell was happening? By evening, Daniel brought her a tray of soup, smiling like nothing was wrong. "You're safe now," he said, setting it on the table. "You just need to rest, clear your head. You've been fragile lately." He reached out and stroked her hair, and every part of her wanted to recoil, but she held still. Don't react, don't challenge, just watch. When he left, she sat in silence for what felt like hours. That night, as the wind howled and the radiator hissed, she lay wide-eyed in the unfamiliar bed. And then she heard it. A voice, Daniel's, low, muffled from downstairs. The cadence of someone trying not to be overheard. She slid off the bed, careful not to creak the floorboards, and pressed her ear against the wall vent. "Yeah," he whispered. "No, she's not onto us. Not yet." A pause. Then, "We'll go ahead with phase 2. I'll handle her." Emma staggered back from the vent. She doesn't suspect yet. Her breath caught in her throat. But now she did. Curiosity turned survival. At 3:14 a.m., the house was still. Emma had memorized Daniel's sleep rhythm. The deep, even breaths when he finally passed out after his nightly drink. The faint whistle in his nose after an hour. That's when she moved. Barefoot and silent, she crept down the hall, her fingers brushing the cool wall for balance. Every creak in the floorboard felt like a gunshot. Daniel's office door loomed ahead, a room she hadn't entered in weeks. He'd started keeping it locked since her hospitalization. Too many work LS. Too many private files. But tonight, the lock turned easily, unlocked or forgotten. The air inside smelled like printer ink and cologne. She didn't bother the desk lamp, just used the soft glow of the hallway behind her. Emma moved fast, first to the top drawers, pens, junk, some receipts, middle drawer, empty file folders, then the bottom drawer, locked, of course. She checked the shelves for a spare key, nothing. Her eyes fell on the letter opener, long, thin, metal. She wedged it into the lock, wiggled, twisted. Click, the drawer opened with a reluctant groan. Inside, a thick stack of documents, manila folders, paper-clipped forms. She pulled them out and laid them on the floor, flipping quickly. Medical bills, insurance policies, all in her name, and all dated within the last 2 weeks, while she had still been unconscious. One policy showed a $25 million life insurance payout, with Daniel listed as sole beneficiary, signed, sealed, except it wasn't her signature. She stared at the swooping line. Practiced, close, but not hers. Emma's chest tightened. The papers rattled in her hand. The next folder stopped her cold. Project Orion, participant 0049E. She opened it. Inside, printed charts, brain scans, dosage logs, all labeled with her name. A packet of forms labeled Informed Consent, Neurological Trial, Tier 3. More signatures, all forged. She scanned 72 hours. Adverse effect range, identity disorientation, cardiac failure, administered via food or beverage. No participant knowledge required. Her blood ran cold. She hadn't fainted at work. She'd been drugged, deliberately, monitored. Her body used like a test subject, and Daniel, the soft creak of the staircase snapped her back to the moment. Footsteps. Coming closer. She frantically shoved the files under her sweater, backing toward the office door. The drawer still hung open. The hallway light flicked on. Shadows shifted. Too late. She ducked behind the door as it swung inward. Daniel stood in the doorway, groggy, rubbing his eyes. He stared at the open drawer. Silence. His voice was soft, too soft. "You looking for something?" Emma forced a yawn, stepping from behind the door, pretending to squint. I couldn't sleep. I thought my phone might be in here. I didn't mean." He stared at her for a long, still second, then smiled. "That drawer's always tricky," he said, kneeling to close it. "I'll find your phone later, okay? You should be in bed." He stood, brushing past her, and gently placed a hand on her back. A guide, a warning. Emma let herself be walked back to the guest room, body stiff, sweater pressed tight against the papers. He kissed her temple before closing the door. She waited, counted the steps, listened as he walked down the hall, then paused. She could feel him outside the door, listening, deciding. After a moment, his footsteps retreated. Emma slid the stolen documents from her sweater and hid them beneath the mattress. Then she crawled under the blanket, not to sleep, but to plan. When the walls close in, windows become doors. The rain helped, steady, soaking, loud. It masked her movements, hid her scent like a hunted animal in the woods. Emma moved quickly, her heart a metronome of dread as she slipped the incriminating documents under her sweater again. This time flat against her back, held by a belt from the closet. She wore sneakers, a raincoat, and layered herself with whatever she could grab that didn't look suspicious, not yet. She left the note from Dr. Patel in the same place. Hidden under the mattress, she memorized every loop of his writing anyway. Downstairs was silent. Daniel's snores came in from the master bedroom. Deep, rhythmic. The sleeping pills he'd taken with his brandy had finally hit. She eased the guest room window open, cringing at each groan from the warped frame. One step, two. The wet grass soaked her socks through her shoes almost instantly. She didn't care. She cut through the backyard like she was fleeing a fire. The corner store 2 blocks away glowed dimly like a lighthouse through fog. Its neon sign buzzed, and the bell over the door jingled when she pushed it open. The clerk barely looked up. She found the payphone near the ice machine. Dr. Patel's number burned into her mind. She fed coins with trembling hands and dialed. Disconnected. She tried again, still dead. She hung up slowly, rainwater dripping from her sleeves, and turned to leave. A black SUV idled just outside the glass. Emma froze. Dark windows, engine humming, a silhouette in the driver's seat. No movement, just watching. The SUV didn't belong to anyone on their street. She knew every car, every neighbor, every driveway. She stepped back into the aisle, hiding behind a stand of potato chips, then peeked again. Still there, too exposed, too late. She bolted out the side door near the dumpsters and sprinted through the alley, the documents a solid rectangle pressed between her shoulder blades. Her lungs burned,